So what if I told you that everything you do in your first 90 days as a manager determines whether or not you'll spend the next year fighting for respect or leading with confidence? Well, it's true. And the scary part is that most managers have no idea that they're even being evaluated during this really critical window. Most think that they actually have time to figure things out, when the truth is that their team and their manager are keenly observing. And in that observation window, they're deciding whether or not this is a manager that's worth following or someone who's just going to be tolerated. I've seen it and I've lived it too, my friend, which is why in today's video, I'm going to walk you through what determines your credibility before you even sit in the seat as a manager, and it's probably not what you think. The critical phase that most managers actually skip that causes permanent damage to their relationships, and the reframe that will actually change how you handle resistance during your transition, as well as for the rest of your career. So here's where most new managers go wrong from day one, okay? So many think that the transition actually starts when they sit in the seat as a manager, when in actuality, your success as a manager is determined before you officially start. So let me explain what I mean so that you kind of understand here. So when your promotion gets announced, your team immediately enters into what's called the zone of disruption, okay? And the zone of disruption is just one phase in the arc of change management. Now, this zone of disruption typically comes with a lot of questions and a lot of uncertainty. Even if you did get promoted from within the team and the team knows you, that going from peer to manager shift is still a disruption to the team norm and can leave people wondering a lot of things like, how will this change affect me? Will they still be the same person that I know them to be? Or is this new person coming in as my manager, are they going to be a micromanager or overbearing? Essentially, there are a lot of open loops, and when this disruption phase isn't managed properly, you end up spending months, maybe even your entire first year, just trying to prove yourself instead of doing what you're there to do, which is lead your team, right? Achieve results and make an impact. So to avoid this, what you gotta do is pre-plan your transition, which is actually step one of your onboarding. So before your role is even announced, you gotta sit down with your manager and get clarity and alignment on three really important things. Number one, how your role will be introduced to the team. Number two, the context the team is operating in. And number three, any unspoken dynamics that might shape how you are received and perceived. Having this information ahead of time helps you to form your messaging. Meaning when your manager introduces you to the team as the new leader, it needs to be more than just transactional. Of course, informing the team is important, but what impacts the way that you're actually received and the respect that is shown to you is how it's done. So it can't just be a memo that goes out that says, you have a new manager, enjoy it. It should communicate why now, why you, and what your team stands to gain. When this messaging, y'all, is tight, it builds instant credibility that would take you, honestly, months to do on your own otherwise. But even with a great introduction that's messaged really well, some of you are still gonna face a major test, particularly if you were promoted from within the team. So let me give you an example of an experience or a situation that came up a couple weeks ago. I was training some emerging leaders in an organization, and one identified future leader by the name of Lisa, she shared with us during the training that when she was sent the invitation to this training, that one of her colleagues said to her, "Oh, well, I guess we can't be friends with you no more if you're going to be this new boss lady of ours." Now, she said that they were, saying it in a joking manner, but underneath that humor was real concern about the relationship changing. And here's the thing, if you chalk that up to just jokes and you don't address what's under the surface, those feelings will fester, okay? And they'll show up later as resistance, as undermining, or even insubordination. And this is all the kind of stuff that I've seen managers work really, really hard at fixing after the fact, and it's taken a lot away from them emotionally, mentally, and physically. And this is why I actually recommend a listen and learn phase from the moment that you transition into your role and before you test your hand at making any changes or making any decisions. You see, the goal of this phase is to seek to understand before being understood. Now, there are many actions that you should take during this listen and learn phase that should take you a couple of weeks, but one of them is to schedule individual conversations and prioritize the people who might be struggling with your transition. Now, these conversations require specific language and a particular approach to be effective, which is why in my new Manager Accelerator program, I walk y'all through exactly how to navigate these situations, right? How to start the conversation, the questions to ask, how to respond to pushback, and how to rebuild relationships on new terms. I give you scripts and agendas, so if you know that you'll be transitioning into a management role and you want to start off on the right foot instead of spending like an entire year to course correct, then check out the link in the description box below to learn more about NMA and see if it's a right fit for you. Now, once you've built some kind of initial trust and you start solving problems, you might hit another challenge that trips up a lot of new managers, which is resistance. Maybe you offer solutions and collectively there's just a general sense of, well, we've always done it this way and we're gonna continue doing it this way because this is what works. Or maybe you share an idea and get complete silence followed by side conversations that you hear about through the grapevine, because we know it always makes its way back, right? Now, your instinct might be to get defensive or to push harder to press your authority. But I gotta tell you, that approach backfires because resistance is rarely about your idea or your proposed solution. One of the things that I've learned is this: when people push back, it's usually an indicator that A, they need more context, B, they don't see the value, or C, haven't been sold yet on the why. So let me give you an example of what I mean, okay? So I had a student once who told us about her transition and how when she took over the team, how she sent out an email just to request doing some shadow sessions with each team member. Her reasoning? Well, she wanted to understand their workflows and how everything came together so that she would be able to make wise decisions. Sounds completely reasonable, right? Well, even though it was a reasonable request, it was met with a lot of resistance because of the way that she executed it. You see, she had sent out an email requesting shadow sessions, but she didn't provide any context about why she wanted to do this or what the benefit was for them. So what ended up happening was one senior employee on the team immediately responded by saying, well, why do you need to shadow me? I've been doing this job for 5 years. I know what I'm doing. And then another team member said that they were so uncomfortable with the request. And this led to so much pushback on the team that her manager ended up telling her to just withdraw the request entirely. It was a well-intentioned idea and request that turned into a credibility hit for her. Why? Because she didn't provide context or sell the benefit. If she had explained that shadowing helps her advocate for them and avoid creating unnecessary obstacles, the response would have been something completely different for most people anyways. And I say most people because let's be real, some people will still need more context before they get on board with you. But when someone pushes back, the key is to not brand them as difficult. See it as a request for more information rather than an attack on you and your ideas. That reframe alone will help you to manage situations objectively without bringing emotions and assumptions into the mix. Listen, the truth is that successful managers do not wing their transition. They follow a very proven system to help them earn trust, build credibility, and create momentum from day one. Because your first 90 days will define your entire management career, okay? Don't leave your success to chance. Now, I know this might feel like a lot to navigate on your own, and honestly, I gotta say it is. And that's why most new managers struggle for months or even years just trying to figure this thing out through a lot of trial and error. But I want you to know, friend, that you don't have to do this alone. And if you want my help, know that I've got a very clear path for you to do that, which is referenced in the description box below for you. Now, let's say you've done everything we've talked about here in this video, right? You've provided context, you've maintained your objectivity, you've even given your team the benefit of the doubt, and there is still resistance to the point where it is no longer just pushback, it's resistant to your management itself. So for example, maybe what you're witnessing is a team that is actively working against you, questioning your authority, or refusing to follow your direction altogether. Well, if that's the case, my friend, you'll want to watch this video here next, where I walk you through a series of steps to take when you have a team member that is actively undermining your leadership and what you need to do to address it before it starts poisoning your entire team.